what technique or techniques do you teach?
Well, I specifically teach practical aesthetics, which is based in Meisner, and it was started by William H. Macy and David Mamet at the Atlantic School. I would say that practical aesthetics is the application of a lot of other techniques. It's based in Meisner, but it uses tactics, relationships, and scenario with the as-if, helping you to live more truthfully in the moment. If we're talking about mastering a technique, I would say at least a year, I think, to immerse yourself into that specific technique. However, I do not think that an actor should only study one technique. I think get one good and move on. I think that it's important to have many different ways into the room. The way that I liken it is, if you're going somewhere, are you only going to use Google Maps, or are you going to turn on Waze, which will get you there the fastest and most efficient way? If you have a lot of options, then you have a lot of tools in your toolkit. And I think it's always great to study a lot of different techniques, because it just makes you more equipped. It is. Practice makes perfect, and so many other things. Because we are craftsmen, a craftsman doesn't learn how to hammer a 2x4 together and call himself a craftsman. You have to practice to become a master cabinet maker. And the only way to do that is to do it over and over and over in lots of different spaces. Well, I personally think that you should audition as you train. To me, that is the application of what you're learning. And if you spend too much time with this anxiety about the application of what you're learning, then it's only going to build to create a barrier for you living truthfully in the moment, because you're going to be so in your head thinking about, how do I apply this? Just jump in. You know, you learn to swim by jumping in the water. And also with the idea that that's your job, to audition. I mean, you're auditioning, and so you're going to work. And you may get lucky and get paid for it one day.
So do you think if your teacher told you to stop auditioning because you're ruining your career, have you ever had to do that with the students? Like, you stop, you're just burning bridges. Have you ever had to do that?
I've never told someone to stop. I've just coached them a lot more.
Okay. Is there a benefit to studying more than one technique?
Yes, there is. I think the way that I look at what we do is actors are they're not born artists. They're born with a gift. And without training or learning technique, multiple techniques, it's like saying someone who is flexible is going to be a great dancer, or someone with a great arm could pitch the World Series. You've got to train, and you've got to learn technique. And when you only study one technique, it's like having a bag full of nails. You know, you need a lot of tools. You need the hammer, the saw, the screwdriver, and that's how you're going to become a craftsman. It's going to only be by having a lot of different tools. And I started off method, Stanislavski, and that was when I was, just beginning, and have studied many, many techniques. And I will say that I'm not a purist. I don't just use one. It's about which way, which map can get me there quickest. And practical aesthetics was designed by working actors. So a lot of times when we're in the audition circuit, we don't have time to prep for a role that we're auditioning for, with the kind of time that as actors we really love to sink our teeth into, pour over the script, do all the text analysis. What is a way for you to be able to get there effectively and quickly? And practical aesthetics was developed with that in mind, taking to heart that these actors are also studying other techniques. It's the application of that. And being Meisner based, we all know that Meisner is not a quick study. It's a lifetime commitment. And
what do you think will make all the actors in the Atlanta market better actors?
Honestly, I think this is a personal question, because for me, Actors come to this craft for a lot of reasons. And one of the things that I always ask them when they're in my class is why? Why are you here? And we trace back, and I share my personal reason for being a storyteller. You know, I trace it back to my alarm clock moment. When did I know that this was my calling? And when we can dissect the very purpose for why people sit in the classroom week after week, why they coach through Zoom, why they do whatever it is that they do, studying lines to come and just rehearse with scene partners to perform for a room full of people. Why do we do that? I think if a person can really, and if an actor can really determine if this is a hobby, are they chasing fame? Is it for attention? Or is it because they're called? Because they feel like they themselves had an alarm clock moment where they woke up and realized, I'm supposed to do this. And that is the person that I think will be more successful. Because if they have an understanding of why they're on the grind, why do they do it? Why do they spend all their money in training? Why do they, or headshots or whatever? Then they'll keep going with it. And we know that that's the name of the game. Keep going. Don't ever give up. And that's what I think is going to make more successful actors in Atlanta.
Why do you teach?
Well, to maybe piggyback off of what I was just saying, I feel that it is a calling. I feel that I'm called to be a storyteller. I had a moment where I felt like this is it for me. I understand that I can affect people. I have the ability to touch another person. And so when I realized that I had that capacity, it was like my first hit. I had to have more, and so I just kept coming back, wanting to be part of that storytelling process. And I really consider myself as an actor and as a teacher. I'm a doctor of humanity, and as a doctor of humanity, it's a little bit of a double entendre. It is my mission and my calling to study the human condition, to study what makes mankind think and feel and behave a certain way, and I love that. I love the psychology behind it. But as the double meaning in that, a doctor of humanity has the ability to change the way a person thinks, feels, acts, believes, and hopefully maybe even help heal a broken part of that person. And that is why I do this, because that is my calling, to help hopefully make a difference in humanity.
By teaching others to do the
Yes,
same.
and that is, it's a ripple effect, because if I myself am not acting a part, then the very next best thing I can do is help teach and train people how to be better storytellers.
What is your guilty pleasure?
Oh, wow. Probably very similar to most other actors, binge watching Netflix and eating fattening food and not sleeping, and then pretending to not feel good the next day and call in sick.